Good day, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. A Chiefs organization in Manitoba has announced a return date for its Grand Chief that has been on leave following a fight outside of a bar in Ottawa earlier this month. Jerry Daniels of the Southern Chiefs organization was sent to hospital following the altercation ahead of the Assembly of First Nations gathering. Meanwhile, APTN News has obtained a letter Daniels has sent to SCO chiefs, staff, and others expressing how sorry he is. In an email on Thursday, SCO says Daniels has recently met with the SCO's Chiefs Executive Committee, CEO, and 2 knowledge keepers. The email says the Grand Chief will be returning from his leave on January 6th. In the letter from Daniels obtained by APTN, Daniels says, quote, "I will do better. The past few weeks have been a wake-up call, and I recognize the need for a change in my lifestyle. Just like anyone who faces the shame of having personal struggles laid bare, I wish I had been honest sooner about my challenges with alcohol." The letter goes on to say that Daniels knows an apology alone is not enough. He has committed to a treatment plan that includes traditional ceremony and an alcohol treatment program. Daniels thanks the Chiefs Executive Committee for supporting him with his trauma. He is proposing a restorative justice model to resolve the incident that occurred. After nearly a year, Nunavut has a new senator. Nancy Karatek-Lindell was appointed on Thursday to replace Dennis Patterson, who retired a year ago. She played a key role in establishing Nunavut as a territory in 1999. Karatek-Lindell was elected to Parliament 2 years earlier in 1997, serving as an MP until 2008. For a time, she was also parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Natural Resources and served as president of the Inuit Circumpolar Council Canada from 2016 to 2018. First Nations leaders in Manitoba once again rang the alarm over Jordan's Principle this week. Earlier this month, Indigenous Services Canada said there was a backlog of 140,000 Jordan's Principle claims and admitted they had no timeline of when that would be cleared. Manitoba has one of the highest number of backlogs with 25,000 claims waiting to be processed. The Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs held a special meeting on Jordan's Principle and child welfare on Wednesday. Frustration spilled out during the hours-long gathering. Chiefs said children back home are suffering and something needs to be done to address the underfunding of Jordan's Principle, but also to address those abusing the program. They said they need to come together with a unified voice and a plan of action. An official with Indigenous Services Canada said more than $600 million has been paid out this year in Jordan's Principle claims. Leaders are also looking to be reimbursed for the money they paid out while waiting for decisions on claims to be made.
Canada's delays are not just administrative error. The financial crisis had led to layoffs, bridge financing, measures, reliance on financial institutions, office closures, and broken leases, threatening the stability of our communities. Again, a lot of things happening. How much more do we have to bring out to Canada? Without immediate action, First Nation risks falling into third-party co-management, stripping communities of their autonomy and decision-making.
Many of our children now need mental health because of all the problems in our communities. These are problems that have been because of Canada not providing anything that we need in the way of medical, in the way of housing, in the way of protecting our communities with justice. We are here today to protect our children from harm.
Does another First Nations child have to die? Will that be the next headline? Before IS gets their act together and starts fulfilling their legal duty and obligation. And my final comment is this: health is a treaty right. a treaty right that's being denied, like many of our other treaty rights. And yet, once again, we are the poorest of the poor, living in fourth world conditions, while the rest of Canada enjoys the benefit of our lands and resources.
A man who works with Indigenous inmates at the Stony Mountain Penitentiary is speaking out this week, calling for an end to the Phoenix pay system. He says he's been basically working for free and hasn't received a full paycheck for more than 3 months, leaving him and his family in a very difficult position right before Christmas. Chris Anachkate has more.
And the Phoenix pay system really needs to go. Yeah, it was poorly thought out, in my opinion.
After a 2-year recovery from long-term COVID, Wayne Robillard was looking forward to coming back to work this past fall at the Stony Mountain Institution north of Winnipeg. However, since September, he hasn't received a single correct paycheck and says he's out more than $6,000.
That's a huge chunk for anyone to pocket, to be able to say, hey, I'm just going to continue on dealing with this and knowing that I'm owed that much money when I could go find employment somewhere else and not have to worry about it, especially during the holiday season. This has caused an incredible amount of stress for myself and my family and my daughter.
Thankfully, his wife's income has kept them going, along with a September emergency advance. But they have had to use all of their savings just to cover the mortgage, and they still have numerous unpaid bills, among other things.
Because I sat on this side of the table with an empty plate while my daughters ate. I'm from Fisher River, so when they bring the Christmas hampers, and I've never really participated in that because I never really felt that I was in that pool where I had that need and I never wanted to take food or the ability for someone to get food out of someone else's hands. So I've never gone for that. This year I went and picked up my hamper to make sure that my family had food over the holidays, you know.
In a statement to APTN News, a spokesperson with Public Service and Procurement Canada could not speak specifically to Robillard's case due to the Privacy Act, but said, "It is unacceptable for Government of Canada employees and former employees to face pay issues, including not receiving any pay at all. Employees deserve to get paid correctly and in a timely manner, and we recognize that anything less is unacceptable." Public Service and Procurement says the federal government has put in measures to try and mitigate pay issues impacting employees, including emergency salary advances to support employees who are facing pay problems. But Robillard says that has yet to happen for him and his family.
Food or gas or Christmas presents for your daughter or things like that, you know, like you shouldn't have to ever really worry about going without when you work for the federal government, especially when they're told many times that, get a government job, get a good pension and all that stuff, great benefits. Well, this so far is now affecting my pay and my benefits.
According to the federal government, the cost to fix the Phoenix pay system backlog is so far at $3.5 billion. And since October 2024, there are more than 408,000 unresolved Phoenix pay issue cases. 209,000 federal employees are still waiting.
We take this job to be financially stable, and this has provided me with nothing but financial instability since returning to work.
There were many important stories in Quebec in 2024. APTN Savannah Craig joined our team in late October, but covered many of the top stories in Quebec since then. Here's her recap of the last couple of months.
In early November, I covered a police interaction that resulted in the shooting of 2 Inuk twins in the town of Salouit-Nunavik in northern Quebec. This resulted in the death of Joshua Puppygatuk and fatal injuries for Garnet Puppygatuk. This shooting led to mobilizations in Salouit and across other towns in Nunavik, demanding accountability and police reform.
Justice for Joshua! Justice for twins! Justice for Garnet! Justice for twins!
The protest was organized by cousins of the twins, Courtney Puppygatuk.
They were always mentioned together, Joshua and Garnet, Garnet and Joshua. It's not just Joshua and just Garnet, but now it is.
The protest brought a group of mothers who had lost their children to policing in Canada, including Martha Martin.
No justice! No peace!
Martin lost her daughter to a police shooting in 2020. Months later, her son died in police custody.
How many gatherings do we need to continue coming to?
Just days later, Martin approached Trudeau at the Assembly of First Nations in Ottawa.
Mothers are tired of burying their children.
She demanded more government action to be taken by the federal government to stop the killing of Indigenous people during interactions with police officers.
I am just so hurt.
Edith Wells also pleaded for more to be done to stop this systemic issue. Her son, John Wells, was killed during an interaction with police in September.
Every day I wake up knowing that I'm never, ever going to see my son or talk to him. And his last words were, "I don't want to die. I don't want to die. They killed my boy."
In late November, the federal government gave a historic apology in Nunavik over their role in killing Inuit sled dogs between the 1950s and 1960s.
I'm sorry. Please forgive us.
That slaughter took away Inuits' autonomy and methods of transportation. The government also pledged $45 million to promote reconciliation efforts for Inuit and Nunavik, which includes revitalizing the sled dog population. This will benefit many, including dog mushers like TV Dupuis.
We're lucky that we're resilient people. We have resilient people that are willing to help teach the next generations on how to survive. This is a big part of survival.
In mid-December, I visited Gonasatage Perimeter Security.
Everybody's equipped with a body cam.
They respond to a variety of issues alongside provincial Sûreté du Québec officers, paramedics, and the fire department.
They won't call the SQ, they'll call us.
But they're just a stopgap measure because there's no Gonasatage police force and people don't trust the SQ.
There's a bad taste in the mouth from, I guess, going back to 1990 with the SQ and their policing, and there's no in-between. People don't feel comfortable calling them sometimes, so they'll call us as like a mediator because we can do almost everything except police.
These were the highlights of some of the stories in Quebec at the end of 2024. Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Montreal.
Time for a quick break, but stick around, there's much more to come. Welcome back. It's been a historic week in South Australia, with the state's First Nations voice to Parliament delivering its inaugural address. The SA voice has navigated a rocky road to get to this point, and it had to contend with the hangover from the overwhelming no vote from last year's federal voice referendum. Then a lower voter turnout to elect members. And finally, the resignation of a number of those elected representatives. But the group is determined to make the state's voice to Parliament a success, and it's already having a say on decisions affecting First Nations people.
The first steps towards a fresh approach to Indigenous affairs in South Australia, with the inaugural address signalling the beginning of our country's first Indigenous voice to Parliament.
We come here today knowing the work we do to close the gap of knowledge must be done with evidence and truth-telling.
Through the voice, First Nations people in South Australia will have their say at the highest levels of decision-making on matters, policy and law that affect them.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are 3% of the population, yet 25% are incarcerated. In health, in criminal justice, in housing, across the board, the story is the same. And yes, we are seeing progress. The last Closing the Gap annual report indicated that of the 17 social economic targets, 8 of them are improving.
The SA voice hopes its influence will see that progress go even further, and it's already had a say on various matters in Parliament.
The Preventative Health Bill, for example, we made 8 recommendations. I believe 5 of them were accepted and adopted, and we've also been heavily involved in the Early Childhood Development Bill as well.
The voice is made up of 46 local representatives across 6 regions, with 2 members from each zone representing the state voice. But since its establishment, 4 members have either resigned or moved into state.
We've got something, but something is not good enough. I mean, it's got to have teeth.
There are concerns about the long-term future of the voice.
The Liberal Party will delete. With a stroke of the pen, that bill will be destroyed. All right, and again, that we as the First Nation people will have to start all over again.
But despite the challenges, the South Australian voice to Parliament remains optimistic.
And now we are here, a point in history where democratically elected First Nations men, elected by the community, can stand here and speak to the nearly 70 people who have also been democratically elected to represent the people of South Australia.
Marcella Sinalanga, NITV News.
Still overseas, people have turned out in force to clean up a remote beach in the Torres Strait. The annual event happened on the secluded Friday Island, one of the most pristine in the region. NITV's reporter in the Torres Strait, Carly Willis, caught up with those taking part in the effort.
A small army of volunteers arrives to wage war on marine debris.
Pick up rubbish and never trade this island.
Armed with gloves, buckets and bags, they scour the beaches. For these young people, it's their home, and they want to keep it clean.
You don't want to go to the beautiful beaches of the Torres Strait and see all those rubbish just laying around.
Event organisers say it started with a conversation with young people who wanted to know what they could do to help solve the region's marine debris problem.
I'm educating the young ones about cleaning up and stuff, how it's important to clean up country Bosia, and learning them so they get to pass that knowledge on to the next generation.
All right, let's do this.
Drones are used to create an accurate map of the debris and teach the next generation how to combine technology with traditional knowledge.
Take a whole heap of images that we can feed into an AI model, and then that can help us count all of the debris. We can look at hotspots in the area, we can have a look at where all of the debris is washing onto, etc. And then it'll give us a full count.
The task force picked up more than 400 kilograms of dangerous material this year, 60 more than last year.
Unfortunately for us, a lot of it is foreign debris. We could say at least 90%.
They also alert authorities to the arrival of ghost nets, which are lethal to turtles and other marine life. 6 of the world's 7 species of marine turtles call the Torres Strait home or migrate here.
If we didn't make this happen, we wouldn't be caring about all this plastic and all this turtle in the sea and all them sea animals. We have to pick up the rubbish so we can pass it down to the next generation and show them how it's done.
Caring for country, island style. Carly Willis, NITV News.
Beautiful. Now to one of this week's web poll questions. We're asking, do you feel safe in the downtown area of the city closest to you? Your choices are yes, no, or I don't go downtown. You can weigh in on that and all of our other web poll questions over on our website. Time for one more quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Here's a look at your current conditions. Sunny and 5 in Halifax, 2 under the sun in Fredericton. Minus 14 in Kuujjuaq, cloudy and 10 below in Nain. Minus 2 in Montreal, 19 below for Val-d'Or. Minus 4 in Sault Ste. Marie, minus 6 in Ottawa. Minus 17 in Thunder Bay, cloudy and 22 below in Sioux Lookout. Minus 26 and sunny skies in God's Lake and Norway House. Minus 15 in Winnipeg, 21 below in Dauphin. Sunny and minus 22 in Regina, cloudy and minus 22 in North Battleford. Snow and 21 below in Meadow Lake, minus 25 in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, minus 21 in High Level, 29 below in Fort Chipewyan. Minus 17 with snow in Edmonton, plus 9 in Lethbridge. 10 above in Vancouver, 3 with showers in Kamloops. Minus 4 in Prince George, flurries and 3 below in Smithers. Minus 34 in Old Crow, 19 below with snow in Whitehorse. Minus 30 in Yellowknife, 26 below in Norman Wells. 18 below in Sax Harbor, minus 17 in Polituck. Minus 26 in Chesterfield, 25 below in Whale Cove, minus 22 in Resolute, 23 below in Joe Haven. A Northern Ontario college is working with an Indigenous community in Costa Rica to preserve their language. APTN's Mike McDonald has more.
Over the last couple of years, small groups of Canadore College students have been participating in an immersion program with the Malaku, with the overall goal of helping them to preserve their language. It began with direct translations between the first group of students that went down to Costa Rica a few years ago, but they relied on tour guides to help translate. Something better was needed.
It worked very, very well, but that's where the conversation went to, how can we use technology? Malaku's people do use technology. The language in certain slivers exists on the internet. It exists in different places. They're using it in the schools. How can we use that to map to other languages more quickly, to kind of beat the clock a little wee bit? And then how can we use that so that translation can happen in real time?
And time is an important consideration given the rapid decline in the number of Malaku speakers. Enter artificial intelligence, which will be used to provide real-time translation.
Who is going to continue on with those languages is something that we're facing, but also other communities are facing abroad. So I think there's that connection there, that familiarity, that we know, that we have that experience, that we share that passion, but also that fear of losing the language.
The struggle to preserve language is just one similarity between the Malaku and Indigenous communities in Canada.
The poor treatment of Indigenous people happened down there as well. And, as late as the 70s, whether it was through clear-cutting a forest, shifting way of life, losing land, there were elements of the Malaku story that really transposed me. I could have been in either country when I was sitting with them, listening and learning.
Once they get into those communities and meet with the Malaku, for instance, is that there's a sense of not home, but kind of that similarity of home, right? Some of those experiences that they have from home, they see in these communities as well. The friendliness, the way, knowledge is shared.
Only around 600 Malaku people live in Costa Rica, and the hope is that this project will give them the opportunity to teach the language to future generations. Mike McDonald, APTN National News.
Now to our Ottawa studio, where Fraser Needham is standing by with a look at tonight's Nation to Nation.
Coming up tonight after the evening news, it's been a brutal week for Prime Minister Justin Trudeau after the bombshell resignation of Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland. Cheryl Casimir of the First Nations Summit is here to tell us where the Liberal government might go next. The Métis National Council is also in disarray, and Hill Times columnist Rose LeMay shares her insights on the situation. The federal government says it will not be moving forward on Bill C-53. We get reaction from the president of the Métis Nation of Alberta on that decision. All this ahead on Nation to Nation.
Thanks, Fraser. Good looking show for tonight. That's all the time we have for your first look at the day's news. I'm Dennis Ward, and I'll see you back here at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Marcy Miigwech, thanks for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.